Matthew, it's
Hello.
lovely to have you
Oh, it's
here.
nice being here. I've driven past so near and had no idea there was this complete sort of fairyland immediately off the road. It's absolutely wonderful. I'm loving it already. What's happening here?
I'm just so grateful that you've come to look at the garden because you're going to illustrate it.
I know it's the hardest job I shall ever have done. It's the most complex landscape I think you could have invented. Anyway,
Well, I don't want to make life too easy. I've got to stretch your talents.
They will they'll be stretched to the frayed edges of their very modest abilities.
So this is the entrance courtyard, and this was an old crew yard, and when we came it was one massive space full of really thick concrete and old buildings and things like that. So
Well, there's sort of big modern buildings as well.
yeah,
then,
big horrid modern buildings.
I know, and those nice farmers
shacks.
do put such deep concrete down. They're so pleased with it. I know why.
Literally this big. They just love it. And it had telegraph poles marching through,
Yes.
which is quite handy because we use them to make the ha-ha.
But was it all divvied up into pens and things?
Well, no, it was one big space with old shacks on it and telegraph poles. And anyway, so it's actually, it's made
it's
a
not
very
now,
nice
is it? That's all I
yard.
can say.
Yes.
It's completely brilliant.
And so I've kept it very simple, the planting here.
But this is
because
new, you said?
This part is, because it was grass, because we didn't own this bit of the yard initially, and so it's had a sort of checkered history. So I've then reinvented it maybe 2 years ago, and I've kept it very simple with just lavender, alliums, old staddle stones missing their tops, so I've put
Very nice putting balls on them. That's sort of turning the whole thing around, isn't it?
And then the central feature with a bird in the middle that needs a good clipping.
The bird is still not to totally come out of its nest, but when it does, it's going to look very good.
It needs a bit of a touch-up. And these evergreen oaks all planted from tiny wee trees. But
Isn't that
they
amazing?
go very fast.
So how old are they?
So those I probably put those in about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But they do go very fast.
It's very heartening, though, to know that not want to be spared for 30 years, but even so, that as I put some little evergreen oaks in, you suddenly think, yes, it really will be worth it. And they really like the clipping, don't they?
They're good for clipping. They're very wind tolerant, and I planted some to hide the modern barns over there. And I put them in hardcore at that height, and they were when you let them go, they're higher than those big barns now after about 5 or 6 years.
And so you had to sort of piece together the place, so you bought one bit, then another bit, and all that kind of thing.
We didn't own that barn and the cottage initially.
Right.
But luckily enough, I persuaded the farmer to sell, and my husband accused me of buying the most expensive garden wall ever, because you don't really need it. But
everyone needs another barn. So what happens in the barns now?
We just store rubbish.
Store stuff, yes. That's very good. It is the most expensive garden wall, I get that, yes.
But it's lovely, and I love it. And then we managed to get the little dovecote as well, which is not the most beautiful building in the world, but
but
nice.
it's lovely. And having a pyramidical roof, it's just a different thing amongst everything else, isn't it? It's a different roofscape. They're lovely with all the Collie Western slates
Collie
on the
Western
roof.
slate is beautiful, isn't it?
Because we must be not a million miles from the quarries and things.
2-3 miles. Yeah. But they stopped working the stone quarries for ages, and then recently they started again, and they bring out big humps of stone and they let the frost get to it, and then it breaks up the things. You get these lovely stone tiles. But interestingly, in Oxford they've been re-roofing there, and they've been getting Indian stone.
Oh, yes.
But they've accepted it on listed buildings.
Yes,
and
it does look good.
Very good, and it costs obviously a fraction of that.
But it is the sort of marvellous current passion for restoring things that means that the quarries are opened again, isn't it? I mean, I think it's the same with cast stone and Norfolk and everything. These things are entirely kept going by a new appetite for doing things right.
Really well.
Yeah, which is exciting.
And the planners said we could put pantiles on, but we actually
I think it's really nice having that, and all graded in size and everything else. It's really good.
They sat in the barn, about 5 of them, chipping away and redoing
that's the job. The job is that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And putting them up is a piece of cake in comparison.
Let me show you the little yard. So we've divided it up with the hedge. I'd put stone piers and hedging to make that bit slightly more private. So when the Amazon man and etc. comes in here, you have time to run away.
Yeah, most important, in case he gives you something nice.
Yes. Come and have a look. I do like this rose, which is it's not Banksy,
but it is
it's
thornless.
Banksia subnormalis, which is
frightfully insulting, isn't it?
Yeah, subnormalis.
I mean, it's terribly nice.
It's incredibly fragrant. The whole yard will smell of
Gosh,
this.
that's nice.
And it's lovely to have it flowering early in mid-May.
I'm going to have to write all these things down. Banksia subnormalis.
I'll give you cuttings. And the Pictorial I love as a multi-stem, and that's so scented it will come out.
So it really hits you as you walk through, doesn't it?
Oh yes, I love that smell. So this is the sort of bit where we eat quite often. It's in one place, and it's all on very little amount of soil because it was all hardcore underneath. So, and I just wang on the.
And you've used the great. Is it this? Hang on, is that council slab or stone? I never know at that point.
I'm sorry. It's reconstituted, and I made the.
It's a very good thing. I mean, as long as once it's been there for a bit. Who would ever know?
But I made the grave error of using a high pressure washer on it. And you can see the aggregate in it.
Yes.
Never again will I do that. And
I thought it looked rather nice, actually.
Did you? Yeah, I'm glad you like it. In that case, I won't.
But this is wonderful. So how big is this? Kind of 40 by 30 or something?
You're in feet and inches, are you?
Oh, sorry, a bit old-fashioned, yes.
Well, that square bit in the middle that's paved is 7 metres square. And so the beds are sort of 4 metres deep. Yeah. And these quince trees were massive. I planted them when we came, and they had quince blight, and it got worse and worse each year. So then I replaced them. I chopped them down last year, and I put in these new ones, which are the blight resistant.
I was going to say, because they're in the same place, but they just don't get it.
In gold. But I put them in baseless pots because I wanted to jack them up, and I put yew to hide the baseless pots. And I love quince; they're my favourite tree.
Me too. Really nice.
And so, but they do look very diddy now, and they were huge. But it is nice when you remove them because you then have the sunlight.
And also, it was hard to believe, but I know because my garden's only 10 years old, that sometimes I'm already taking a few things out because you suddenly think, okay, that's got massive now, and actually it turns out to be bigger than I wanted, and other things have done well, and I can be a bit more fierce.
Yeah, I think that's his gardening, isn't it? You change your tune, you change your mind, something does better than you think.
So was there any garden around here?
No,
not at all. Just farmyard.
And most of it was some cutting. So we had big box hedges before, but I've replaced them with a blight-resistant box, which is why they're so piddly.
But they look really nice. They look glossy and nice.
They do look glossy. They need a bit of a trim up. Everything is just, all the box is just waiting for a quick trim.
How many years in are those new ones? 2
years.
Those
have been in, this is probably their second year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they are very blight-resistant, it seems, but they will get the moth, I'm sure. So we haven't got the moth in this area yet, but it will come. And so then I'll just use that bacteria or whatever.
Oh, well, that thing, yes.
Yeah, is it bacteria? It's a hormone is what I'm using.
It's a nematode, is it?
No, sorry, it's a hormone which attracts the male moths, so they all come in. Yeah. And they don't find the females. It's a fairly new one, and so.
And then what happens? They just all sit and tell stories about
the females, and
tell long stories about the old days in the moth club, and then they die.
Get frustrated and die. Yeah. So sad, but glad.
Look at the bud on that. Isn't that a wonderful thing?
Yes, those peonies, those are amazing. Those hybrids. So they're a cross between a tree peony and a herbaceous peony. And
so they flower early, but they keep going a bit longer, and
yes, they grow a little bit longer. That's called Julia Rose, I think, that one. And it is really nice. That was from my cousin Claire Austin, who has a load of those in her nursery. She sells them. But that clematis should be going up the obelisk.
And will.
It's a job this weekend for me to take it up there. Yeah, absolutely. So come and have a look at the veg.
Yes, which way do we go?
Which is this way. We'll go this way. So this is really the junction of the ornamental and the livestock. So I've got the pigs in the pigsty there. I've got, if they hear us, they'll come over because I think we're going to feed them. I've got the woodland where we have the sheep going every so often, and then I've got the chickens there, the cattle there, the orchard here. So it's the
perfect model farm, isn't it? Really, you've got absolutely everything.
I do.
So it's going to be bafflingly hard to do a drawing of it, but it is absolutely wonderful. And look at that lovely terrace of things there. That's new or is that real?
That's new. I got those copings on eBay. I get everything on eBay.
You are a real eBay shopper, aren't you?
I made a right Hames of that though, because I thought, well, I'm sure I can get those in my golf. But of course, the weight of those copings.
They may be small, but they're very dense and heavy.
Very dense, very
but
heavy.
It's very nice, that business of borrowing antiquity from an object. So you get the coping of another wall, you put it in, and then even though I can sort of see that it's new, there's enough old to it to make one feel that it's part of something ancient. And it's one of the difficulties when people build everything out of new materials, however well they do it, the whole thing just does have a little bit of a sort of car park spanking new feeling to it.
Exactly. But
It's
Dave,
so nice,
who
that.
helps me in the garden, he comes one day a week, and he is really good at masonry.
Yeah,
And he
lovely.
built the kitchen as well, actually. So he does it.
So he's got a bit of investment. Tell me about this. This is very
So
nice.
this is one of those pictorial meadows. So it comes with no grass, and it's purely a mix of plants, herbaceous plants, and this is its first year. So I laid it probably December, January, and it's just about to burst into flower.
And you literally just you have to peg it down. Or
I
just,
didn't
just
even
lay
peg it down. So here we've got this belt here and that belt there. It's probably about 25 square meters.
Yeah.
And I probably laid it in an hour. And that's me, you know, I'm not sort of big, strong bloke.
No, but isn't that, well, quite
It is
strong.
really
That is an
nice.
amazing, and there's vetches and daisies and
Forget-me-nots,
and some,
Nautia, I can see there, scabious.
yes, really
so
nice.
Lychnis there. And so this is the blue one in the front.
So it's not specifically saying I am English wildflowers as you would find them. This is saying this is a wild place. It's going to be good. You can see already hoverflies and other benign insects using it.
And bats, you know, bats come in the
Yeah, well, they want to eat all the things in it.
flying over, exactly. So
And is this the same over here?
that's
No.
exactly
Yes.
the same, and I've actually put an edge to it because I wanted it to raise up a bit just to set it off from the mown grass. So I had this old metal
It's
edge
lovely
which
that,
I
isn't
found
it? Yeah.
in
In
a
eBay?
market. No, French market that. And
Look at this.
put it round.
I love this rose.
Yeah, this was a present from Arabella Lennox Boyd.
Yeah.
And she collected this. She goes out collecting in the wild with other people, and it's planted.
And she collected it from actually wild.
I
or
think
from
she
any-
probably took cuttings.
Yeah.
I don't think you can bring them back. So her greenhouse was full of cuttings that she'd collected, and she very kindly gave me one. And I think it's lovely. And it
Lovely,
sort of
it's
goes,
a wild habit,
yeah,
isn't it?
it
But
has.
also it's just got these great long leaves. I mean, they're now I'm going to sound all imperial again and say they're 8 inches long. But I mean, they really are. Each long.
Yeah, 225 millimetres.
Well, there you
Would
go.
they
See,
be? Yeah,
they might be.
I
I have
can't
absolutely
think
no
of it
idea.
anymore.
I'm s-
And my little eBay treen seat. Is it treen? That sort of wooden knobbly work.
Yes, very good.
That was
I
like
don't know what it is. I think that's what happens when gnomes get working, and not the goblins. I don't know. It's goblin
That's
work.
what my husband said. Very
I think it's-
gnome-esque. But I like it.
It's very nice. I think it is goblin work.
And then there's my vegetable cage over there.
Yeah.
So I've got my brassicas in there mainly, and then I've hidden my polytunnel behind.
Yes, I can't see it. I mean, because I am so in love with polytunnels. I mean, I have hidden mine too, but
Yes, you've definitely hidden
I don't
yours.
see them as being an evil. I just see them as being such a glorious thing. Today is the one day you don't want to be in it
Probably not.
because it's
Probably
so hot,
not.
and
But I love
they get
them.
hot.
So even-
But I
yes.
mean,
Yeah.
they change gardening, and they mean there isn't a day you can't work. That's what I love.
Yeah. Mind you, we're so dry us all here, and I don't mind the rain, so I would say
you're
that
probably
most
not.
days.
And me too, but
So that's the part of my veg garden
yeah,
there.
this is lovely.
And then my runner beans are out. I put the scaffold net over them.
Just in
because
case chilly night. Did you have a cold? And we
But
had
I
cold
will
last
take it
night.
off this weekend, I think. Yeah. And then these are door fruit in baseless pots on the wall.
And this is asparagus which you're not quite picking yet, or you've
No,
picked
it's only 2 years old.
Yeah.
So I'm holding my horses.
Yeah.
And I'll start harvesting that next year.
I've just been doing yesterday planting this size sunflowers out in the asparagus
Oh, mine
beds.
are this size.
No, but
you
I put them out
cheat.
in the asparagus bed
Good idea.
because the rest of the year it
Yes.
looks so dull.
Yeah.
So I just put them about sort of 2.5 metres apart, just to make a
Gosh.
couple of huge, great big, and I'll nip them
That's
out
a
when they're
good
bigger.
idea.
Because I saw it at Petworth, in fact, and I just thought, I've got quite a big asparagus bed, and it's a big, ugly brown hole in your garden for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Gosh,
I'll
they're
do that.
tempting.
I'll copy you.
Well,
But this was sold as an all-male variety, but I noticed I had bears on it last
yes,
year.
no
so
such thing.
Yeah.
But no, they look really healthy, don't they?
They do so far.
Now, can you
They do
pick a
so
couple
far.
next year?
Yeah, next year
Yes.
I'll do a light picking.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so then I've got another bit through here.
Yeah.
It's all compartmentalised.
This is the bottom shot.
The bottom
Ah,
shot coming
yeah.
up, yes. So another bit of the veg garden. So this is going to.
So just tell me, faintly, honestly, how much other than your time goes into this? And you do have quite a lot to do else in your life.
I do, yes. I do 1 day a week.
Yeah.
And Dave does 1 day a week,
Right.
and that's it.
And that is
So I like
so
it
let's
to be
assume that your
lean.
day is worth 2.5, because one's own garden one works like 2.5 people.
No, but I don't get out there often till 11 because I'm doing other stuff. So I
Mm.
would not be there from 11 till I'll probably do 4 or 5 hours each day.
Yeah, there's quite a lot. One gets quite a lot done in that.
Yeah, but you're motivated, aren't you, to get it done? And I set myself little tasks. Usually don't achieve them all.
Yeah.
And,
I'm astonished. I mean, knowing how much work it is.
But it is all.
no,
I'd
these are
like
nice.
to get every bed clean before I plant it.
Yes,
I
you're
plant
starting in the right
densely.
place.
And so that makes a huge difference, I think. And then the lawn, going through to the lawn.
Yeah. I'm very jealous of your Dexters. I wouldn't say it in front of my Herefords because they might be offended. Indeed, I wouldn't say how lovely the Sowy lambs are in front of my sweet little spotty lambs, but gosh, they're pretty under the tree. They're the most decorative park addition, aren't they? And
Yeah.
the Dexters are landscape baffling because if they're half the size cows, it's double the size of field. It's absolutely perfect.
Exactly, they are the optical illusion, aren't they? If they were a Charolais, they'd probably be literally twice the size.
They ruin the
twice
scale of
the-
your garden.
Yeah.
Actually, it's quite a big field anyway, and because it dips out of sight, you can't see the end of it. It's bumpy.
That's all the old medieval village. So at the bottom, there's a spring line,
Right? Yes.
and there's a stream, and we're not on mains water. We're too far away from
Yeah.
the mains, so all our water is pumped up from the spring line.
Up to here.
And
Because you
so
really
that-
are in the middle of absolutely nowhere here,
Yeah,
aren't you?
we are,
I
which
mean,
is
I,
nice, yeah.
I realised, and I looked on the photo on the map, and I thought, yes, this is absolutely marvellously in the middle of
Pretty
nowhere. But this
isolated.
makes it not feel like that, having the remnants of this.
Yeah.
Now it turns out village and the animals in there. It feels like a real place, doesn't it?
It does, and it was very exposed when we came because it was tenanted as a tenanted farm for many years,
Yeah.
hundreds of years, like
Yes.
yours was.
Yeah, and farmers.
So no
do-
one plants trees.
No, and it's the last. They hate trees.
So all the trees I planted when we came.
Yeah, but it makes a huge difference because
and
it
the
feels
hedges,
surrounded.
and it just shelters it.
And what happens through here?
And so, main eating area we use is there.
Because your kitchen is by it.
Exactly. And then we go through to the new rose meadow.
Okay, tell me about this completely delicious place.
So this is a bit of an experiment. It's my rose meadow. So mainly Rosa mutabilis grown from cuttings with topiary in amongst it. And it's just a mass of fairly naturalistic type planting which I've grown from cuttings and seeds.
But this is a kind of absolutely modern gardening de nos jours,
Yeah,
isn't it? This is the thing. And
I'm not fully convinced by it because I do feel you have this mass of stuff that you have to inveigle your way in to keep free of weeds.
I mean,
But things come in.
how many years in is it?
So this is probably 2 years. This is 2 years old now.
It's just
Those
interesting to
roses
see
are
how it developed. Look at what's that little tiny rose there?
So that would be Rosa mutabilis.
That is as well.
Oh, that
No,
one.
that
isn't-
one.
No, that was another one from Arabella.
That's lovely.
Yeah, it is nice with a tiny little leaf.
Yes.
And then up on the wall,
But
I've
also,
got-
in the old days, the farm, they may not have done much, but this was their little orchard as well here, wasn't
this
it?
was the old orchard.
Yeah.
So we have a few remnant trees, and I love the old
Yeah.
trees. They're really nice. And that part, I've just got the comfrey underneath.
And I'm very jealous of the lowness of your comfrey. It's very,
It's a relatively well behaved comfrey.
yeah.
And then I popped in the yew. Well, I've grown those up so that those ones are in longer,
Yeah.
the little plants.
So nice. And they do, that's a very nice thing with the roses, isn't it? Because it's like
I love it.
utterly different.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And then we go on down
Okay.
to the veg garden, and then we'll just do the wall garden, and then you're done. You can start painting.
Then I shall get at it.
Yes.
It is quite a project.
So this is my working garden. So
Yeah.
I've got 2 homemade greenhouses. One I've sunken. They're all made from reclaimed windows. Not as smart as yours. I
No,
suppose.
but really good. What the hell else was going to happen with them anyway?
Exactly.
I mean, that's what one has to
exactly.
think.
Exactly.
But it's a really nice place and sheltered too.
It's very sheltered because the southwesterlies come across there, so all the hedges and trees
sheltered but not
protected.
shaded. I mean, it's not dark.
Well, this is north facing, this greenhouse, but it does pretty well with tomatoes and things.
Yeah, and these are a couple more of the old troopers from a previous life.
And then down on beyond the sunken greenhouse, you've got the little mud hut.
Yes, that's really lovely.
It was a play building initially for the children,
yes.
but now is just we put straw in there or hay
for
in the winter
yes.
the animals.
But this is really nice, and the scale. There's so many rooms here, and they're all very human scale, aren't they?
Very tiny scale.
Well, not exactly tiny, because I mean they're all bigger than lots of people's gardens are. Yeah. But it is a sort of human being scale. You can.
It's easy to tackle one area and get it right,
you get
so
done.
it's satisfying.
And you've got a lot of gravel, so from the maintenance point of view, you're not endlessly mowing 1,000 grass paths and all that
exactly.
kind of thing.
Mowing is mainly the robotic mower,
and
a little bit
slightly
otherwise.
jealous. I've not been bold enough about robotic mowers yet.
You must. I tell you, it saves your life. Come and look at the wall garden.
Yes.
And then you're done.
This is lovely, you know this. It's really nice, and
it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
See how it
I can't tell whether just now is the perfect day.
No, I thought that this would look a right mess in the winter, but because a lot of the grasses, the lazula,
quite stiff and things,
are the native grasses. They're evergreen. So you eat with the evergreen grasses and the topiary. In the winter, there's a lot of structure actually.
How big will you get the yew balls?
I'll go bigger, bigger. I love big yew balls, and they're slow, aren't they?
Yeah, very.
So even if it got to 3 meters in diameter, I don't think I'd cut it that much. But who knows?
That's a nice rose, that little tiny one, isn't it?
It is nice. Yeah, it is nice. I do have the name of that somewhere. So then this is what I grandly call the wall garden, which is pretty tiny.
Well, it does have walls around it.
So yes, it's got 3 walls around it because it has. But
and that appears to be a wall, so it is basically completely enclosed.
I put in the peach trees because you can see the flat roof next door overlooking it.
Yeah, well now you can't.
Now you can't.
That is quite a job clipping that, no?
Well, so Dave did the inside of this yesterday, but he also did other things. But we've got a long reach.
Yes. I mean, gear and kit is absolutely essential to doing things. Getting the right
and
things.
You don't want to go cheap with it.
It sounds awful, but getting enough batteries so when you've got everything charging, you don't suddenly find yourself grounded.
So you don't have to stop.
It really makes electric charger chainsaw, for example, changed my life.
Great.
Charger cutters.
They're lighter. And I find them, whereas I would be scared, isn't that ridiculous?
No.
A petrol-driven
yes,
chainsaw.
for some reason electric feels fine.
Electric, I feel quite confident
Totally agree, and it's quieter for everybody else. And the same with the hedge cutters.
So there's no view out there, but I've put in.
But down here, these lovely walks,
little serpentine path.
Completely lovely.
So that went in last winter.
Yeah.
And so because it was grass underneath here and mowing. Silly bits of grass.
They're very nice with these sets in here. They look lovely.
Little sets, small scale, serpentine. It's interesting setting out serpentine.
Kind of does give the lie to the business, but irises having to be in full sun and baking. Here they are.
I don't know how these irises got here, but they look
really happy, don't they?
But I'm amazed how well they do. And I love the orange tulips. I wish I'd done more. And I've got the pelargoniums, hydrangeas. And
lots of aquiledias. It's lovely. It's a really nice place.
Little sarcococca, little hedge house at the end.
Yes.
With a mirror at the back to make it look like it goes on. But yeah, it's a nice.
How old are these hornbeams?
So I will have put these in probably 35 years ago from little piddlers.
But look, that's the absolute classic hornbeam bark. It's such
getting
a lovely thing to feel, isn't it?
And they're all very twisty. When you buy ready-grown pleached hornbeams from nursery, they're
straight as a die.
But I quite like the fact they're all twisted.
Well, there's much more interest to it then, isn't it?
Exactly.
They're nice for nests too.
I love them. But there you are, Matthew. That's your job.
Well, my work is going to be cut out. Let's see what I come up with. Is all I reckon. There'll be some roughs
first. Forward to it. Really?
So I'll do a rough. Yeah, I'll do a rough because otherwise, just make sure. Otherwise, you say, well, no, you thought that was right.
Yeah. What I love about your illustrations of the style, you've got that. You're very much into chickens and cows, and I love all that. So it'd be nice.
We'll get all of them in. Don't worry, they'll be there. But it's a really nice job.
I just kind of you to say so. I'll give you some lunch before we start.
Okay. Let's do that.
Thank you.